The chains around Yuna's wrists were cold. They were made of some alien metal she did not know. The guards pushed her forward, and she walked into the great hall of the Galactic Council. Her heart was beating fast, but she kept her face calm. She would not show them fear. The hall was enormous. The ceiling was so high that she could not see where it ended. Strange lights floated in the air like small stars. Hundreds of alien species sat in rows that went up and up like a mountain of eyes. All of them were looking at her. All of them were silent. Yuna was a translator. She had worked on the space station Valoran for 3 years. She spoke 11 languages. She helped different species understand each other. She had never hurt anyone. She had never broken any law. But today, she stood before the council as a criminal. High Judge Torvan sat at the center of the highest platform. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 eyes that never blinked. His species, the Valorians, had ruled this part of the galaxy for thousands of years. They believed they were the most important beings in existence. Torvan looked at Yuna like she was an insect. "Human female," Torvan said. His voice was cold and empty. "You are accused of a terrible crime. You entered the sacred shrine of the architects. You touched the holy relics. You damaged the ancient stones that our ancestors protected for 10,000 years. Yuna shook her head. "I did not do this. I have never been to that shrine. I do not even know where it is." A sound moved through the crowd. It was like a wave of disgust. Many of the aliens made noises that showed their anger. Humans were not popular in this part of space. They were seen as weak, stupid, and dangerous. They were new to the galaxy. They had only been traveling among the stars for 200 years. Most species did not trust them. "Silence," Torvan said. "We have evidence. We have witnesses. 3 Valorian guards saw you enter the shrine. They saw you touch the obelisk of ancients. They saw you break the sacred seals." "They are lying," Yuna said. Her voice was strong. "I was in my room that night. I was sleeping. Someone is trying to make me look guilty for something I did not do." Torvan leaned forward, his 4 eyes narrowed. "Why would anyone do that? You are nobody. You are just a human translator. You have no enemies." But Yuna knew that was not true. She had one enemy. His name was Commander Vexus. He was a Valorian officer who worked on the station. He had tried to hurt a young alien child from a weaker species. Yuna had stopped him. She had reported him to the station authorities. Because of her report, Vexus had lost his rank and his honor. He had sworn to make her pay. "Commander Vexus," Yuna said. "He is behind this. He wants revenge because I reported his crimes." The crowd made more angry sounds. Torvan raised his hand for silence. "Commander Vexus is a respected member of the Valorian military. You are a human. Your word means nothing against his." Yuna felt her hope falling away. She looked around the great hall. There were so many faces, so many eyes, but none of them showed any kindness. None of them cared if she was innocent or guilty. She was human. That was enough for them to hate her. Far away, in a small room on the station, a young man named Junho watched the trial on a screen. He was also human. He was an engineer who fixed broken machines and systems. He and Yuna had become friends over the past year. She had helped him when he first arrived on the station. She had taught him how to talk to the different species. She had been kind to him when no one else was. Junho's hands were shaking as he watched the trial. He knew Yuna was innocent. He also knew that the council would not believe her. They had already decided she was guilty. They just wanted to make it official. "I have to do something," Junho whispered to himself. He started working on his computer. He searched through the station's security records. He looked for any camera footage from the night of the crime. He looked for any proof that Yuna was in her room and not at the shrine. Back in the Great Hall, the trial continued. One by one, witnesses came forward. The 3 Valorian guards said they saw Yuna at the shrine. They described her face, her clothes, her voice. They said she laughed as she broke the sacred seals. They said she called the architects false gods. Yuna listened to their lies. Tears were forming in her eyes, but she did not let them fall. She would not cry in front of these people. She would not give them that satisfaction. The evidence is clear, Torvald said. The witnesses have spoken. The crime is proven. Human female Yuna, you are guilty of desecrating the sacred shrine of the architects. The punishment for this crime is death. The word hit Yuna like a punch to her stomach. Death. They were going to kill her for something she did not do. You will be taken to the chamber of judgment, Torvald continued. There, before the obelisk of ancients, you will face your punishment. The execution will happen at sunrise tomorrow. The guards grabbed Yuna's arms and started to pull her away. She wanted to scream, she wanted to fight, but she knew it would be useless. There were too many of them. They were too strong. As she was dragged out of the hall, she looked up at the crowd one last time. And then she saw something strange. In the very back row, hiding in the shadows, she saw Junho. He looked at her with desperate eyes. He put his hand on his heart, and then he pointed at his computer. Yuna understood. He was going to help her. He was going to find the truth. For the first time since her arrest, Yuna felt a tiny spark of hope. Maybe she would not die tomorrow. Maybe the truth would save her. But deep in her heart, she knew that truth did not matter to these people. Only power mattered. And humans had no power in this galaxy. The guards took her down a long, dark hallway. The walls were made of black stone. The air was cold and smelled like something old and forgotten. At the end of the hallway, there was a large metal door with strange symbols carved into it. The Chamber of Judgment, one of the guards said. No one who enters has ever come out alive. The door opened slowly. Inside, Yuna could see nothing but darkness. But she felt something. Something old. Something powerful. Something waiting. She took a deep breath and walked into the darkness. Behind her, the door closed with a sound like thunder. And somewhere in that darkness, something ancient began to wake up. The Chamber of Judgment was the oldest place in the galaxy. That is what the aliens said. Yuna did not know if it was true, but she believed it. The air inside the chamber felt heavy with time. The darkness seemed alive. As her eyes slowly adjusted, she began to see shapes. The chamber was round and very large. The walls were covered with strange writing that glowed with a soft blue light. In the center of the room stood a tall pillar of black stone. It reached up into the darkness like a finger pointing at the stars. This was the obelisk of ancients. Yuna had heard stories about it. Everyone in the galaxy had. The obelisk was older than any civilization. It was older than the stars themselves, some said. No one knew who built it or why. It had stood silent for 10,000 years. No one had ever made it speak. The Valorians believed the obelisk was a gift from the architects, the mysterious beings who they worshipped as gods. They said the architects created all life in the galaxy. They said the architects would return one day to judge the living and the dead. Yuna did not believe in the architects. She was a scientist at heart. She believed in things she could see and touch and prove. But standing before the obelisk, she felt something she could not explain. She felt like it was watching her. Just a big rock, she whispered to herself. Just a very old, very big rock. But her voice shook as she said it. The guards had left her alone in the chamber. They were afraid to enter. They said the chamber was sacred, and only the condemned could go inside. Yuna was not sure if that was true, or if they were just scared. She walked closer to the obelisk. The blue light from the walls made her shadow look like a giant behind her. The strange writing seemed to move when she was not looking directly at it. She felt cold, but not from the air. The cold was inside her. I am not afraid, she said out loud. But she was lying. Meanwhile, on the other side of the station, Junho was working as fast as he could. His fingers moved across the computer keys like lightning. He was searching through thousands of hours of security footage. He needed to find proof that Yuna was innocent. Come on, he whispered. There has to be something. He found the footage from the hallway outside Yuna's room. He watched the video from the night of the crime. He saw Yuna enter her room at 8 in the evening. He watched the door. For hours, nothing happened. The door never opened. Yuna never left. Yes, Junho said. He felt hope rising in his chest. This was proof. This was the truth, but then he looked closer at the video. Something was wrong. The timestamp in the corner of the screen jumped. At midnight, the video skipped forward by 3 hours. Someone had deleted part of the footage. No, Junho said. His hope turned to fear. No. 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 Someone had changed the evidence. Someone had erased the proof that Yuna was in her room. And Junho knew exactly who it was. Commander Vexus. Junho leaned back in his chair. His mind was racing. Without the complete footage, he had nothing. The council would not listen to him. They would say he made up the story about the deleted video. They would say he was just trying to save his friend. But Junho was not ready to give up. There had to be another way. There had to be something he could do. He stood up and started walking. He did not know where he was going. He just needed to think. He walked through the station's corridors, past shops and restaurants and offices. Aliens of all species walked past him. None of them looked at him. To them, he was invisible. He was just another human. Then Junho had an idea. The security system on the station was controlled by a central computer. If someone deleted footage, the computer would have a record of it. The computer remembered everything. All Junho had to do was find that record, but there was a problem. The central computer was in a restricted area. Only high-ranking officials could access it. If Junho tried to break in, he would be arrested. He would be thrown in prison. He might even be executed alongside Yuna. Junho stopped walking. He closed his eyes. He thought about Yuna. He thought about her smile, her laugh, her kindness. She was the only true friend he had in this cold, unfriendly galaxy. She had believed in him when no one else did. She had helped him when he was lost and alone. "I have to try," he said. He turned and started walking toward the restricted area. His heart was pounding. His hands were sweating. But his mind was clear. He knew what he had to do. Back in the Chamber of Judgment, Yuna was sitting on the cold stone floor. She was tired. She had not slept since her arrest. Her body ached. Her soul ached more. She looked up at the obelisk. It towered over her like a mountain of darkness. The blue light reflected off its smooth surface. For a moment, Yuna thought she saw something moving inside it. Something alive. "Are you real?" she asked the obelisk. "Are the architects real? Can you hear me?" Silence. The obelisk did not answer. Of course it did not. It was just stone. Just ancient, dead stone. But Yuna kept talking. She had no one else to talk to. "I am innocent," she said. "I know that does not matter to anyone. I know they have already decided to kill me. But I want someone to know the truth. I want the universe to know that I did not do this." She paused. Tears were rolling down her face now. She did not try to stop them. There was no one here to see. "I am not a bad person," she continued. "I have tried to do good things. I have tried to help people. I stopped a man from hurting a child. That is why this is happening. Because I did the right thing. Because I stood up against someone powerful." She laughed bitterly. "Is this what happens when you try to be good? Is this the reward for doing what is right?" The obelisk remained silent. The chamber remained still. Nothing moved. Nothing changed. Yuna lay down on the cold floor. She was so tired. Tomorrow they would kill her. Tomorrow she would die for a crime she did not commit. And no one would care. No one would remember. "I wish I had never come to this station," she whispered. "I wish I had stayed on Earth. I wish I had never learned about the stars." She closed her eyes. Sleep was coming for her. Dark and heavy. As she drifted away, she thought she heard something. A sound like a heartbeat. Deep and slow. It seemed to come from the obelisk, but that was impossible. Stone did not have a heart. She was dreaming. She had to be dreaming. But somewhere in the darkness of the chamber, deep inside the ancient stone, something was listening. Something was watching. Something was waiting. And it recognized the human girl sleeping on its floor. After 10,000 years of silence, the obelisk of ancients was starting to wake up. Morning came too fast. Yuna woke to the sound of the great doors opening. Bright light flooded into the chamber. She covered her eyes and slowly stood up. Her body was stiff from sleeping on the stone floor. Soldiers walked into the chamber. Behind them came High Judge Torvan and the members of the Galactic Council. They wore ceremonial robes of white and gold. Their faces were serious and cold. This was not a trial anymore. This was an execution. Yuna's heart was beating fast, but she stood straight. She would not kneel. She would not beg. If she was going to die, she would die with dignity. Torvan walked to a raised platform near the obelisk. He looked at Yuna with his 4 cold eyes. There was no mercy in them. There was no doubt. He had already decided she was guilty. He had probably decided that before the trial even started. Human female Yuna, Torvan said. His voice echoed through the chamber. You have been found guilty of desecrating the sacred shrine of the architects. The punishment is death. Do you have any final words? Yuna looked at the crowd that had gathered behind the soldiers. Hundreds of aliens were watching. They had come to see a human die. Some of them looked excited. Some looked satisfied. None of them looked sad. I am innocent, Yuna said. Her voice was calm and clear. I did not touch your shrine. I did not break your seals. Someone else did this and blamed me. But I know you do not care. You want someone to punish, and I am easy to punish. I am just a human. Raiding. Whispers moved through the crowd. Torvan raised his hand for silence. Your lies do not matter, he said. The witnesses have spoken. The evidence is clear. You will die today. As all criminals must die. Yuna nodded slowly. Then do what you must. But know this. One day, the truth will come out. One day, everyone will know that you killed an innocent woman, and that shame will follow you forever. Torvan's eyes narrowed with anger. He turned to the executioner, a large alien with gray skin and 6 arms. Each arm held a different weapon. The executioner bowed to the judge, and then walked toward Yuna. At that moment, the doors of the chamber burst open again. Junho ran inside, pushing past the guards. He was breathing hard. His clothes were torn. There was blood on his face. Stop, he shouted. Stop the execution. The guards grabbed him and threw him to the ground. But Junho kept shouting. She is innocent. I have proof. Someone deleted the security footage. Commander Vexus changed the evidence. Torvan looked at Junho with disgust. Another human. Take him away. He will be punished for this interruption. No. Junho struggled against the guards. You have to listen to me. I found the records. The central computer shows that Vexus accessed the security system on the night of the crime. He deleted 3 hours of footage. He is the one who set this up. The crowd began to whisper again. Some of the council members looked uncertain, but Torvan shook his head. This means nothing, he said. Even if Commander Vexus deleted some footage, it does not prove the human is innocent. Perhaps she was his partner in the crime. Perhaps they worked together. That makes no sense, Junho shouted. Silence. Torvan turned back to the executioner. Continue with the execution. The executioner raised his weapons. Yuna closed her eyes. She thought about her home on Earth. She thought about her family. She thought about the blue sky, and the green trees, and the warm sun on her skin. She would never see them again. And then something happened. The obelisk of ancients began to glow. At first, it was just a faint light, blue and soft. But it grew brighter and brighter until the entire chamber was filled with blinding light. The aliens screamed and covered their eyes. The executioner dropped his weapons. The guards released Junho and fell to their knees. A sound filled the air. It was like 1,000 voices speaking at once. It was like music. It was like thunder. It was like nothing Yuna had ever heard. And then, from the heart of the obelisk, a voice spoke. Protect. The word shook the chamber. It shook the station. It shook the entire galaxy. Every being who heard it felt it deep in their bones. It was not just a sound. It was a command. The light from the obelisk focused into a beam that surrounded Yuna. It was warm and gentle, like sunlight. Like a mother's embrace. Yuna opened her eyes and looked up. The obelisk was alive. It was looking at her. What is happening? Torvan shouted. His voice was filled with fear. This is impossible. The obelisk has been silent for 10,000 years. The voice spoke again. It was calmer now, but still powerful. This one is protected. This one carries the mark. This one is of the blood. Yuna did not understand. She did not know what the voice meant, but she could feel something changing inside her. Something waking up. Something that had been sleeping all her life. Torvan stepped forward. His fear was turning to anger. The obelisk is malfunctioning. It must be broken. This human is a criminal. She must be executed. You will not harm her. A wave of force exploded from the obelisk. It threw Torvan and the guards backward. They crashed against the walls and fell to the ground. Only Yuna and Junho were left standing, both of them surrounded by the warm, protective light. Junho ran to Yuna's side. He grabbed her hand. Are you okay? He asked. Yuna nodded slowly. I think so. I do not understand what is happening. Neither did anyone else. The aliens in the chamber were staring at the obelisk, with terror in their eyes. This was not supposed to happen. The obelisk was a symbol, a relic, a piece of history. It was not supposed to move. It was not supposed to speak. It was not supposed to protect a human criminal. But it had, and now everything was about to change. Torvan slowly got to his feet. Blood was dripping from a cut on his head. His ceremonial robes were torn and dirty. He looked at the obelisk, and for the first time in his long life, he felt true fear. What are you? He whispered to the glowing stone. The voice answered, I am the keeper. I am the voice of the architects. And I have waited 10,000 years for this moment. The light grew even brighter. The writing on the walls began to move faster now, swirling and dancing like flames. Something was coming. Something big. Yuna held Junho's hand tighter. She did not know what was about to happen, but she knew one thing. She was not going to die today. The chamber was silent. No one dared to move. No one dared to breathe. The obelisk of ancients stood in the center of the room, glowing with power that had been sleeping for thousands of years. And its light was focused on one person. A human woman named Yuna. Torvan stood among the fallen guards and council members. His 4 eyes were wide with shock. His entire life, he had worshipped the architects as gods. He had served the obelisk as the highest symbol of their power. But never, not once in 10,000 years, had the obelisk spoken. Until now. And it was protecting a human. This cannot be real. Torvan whispered. This must be a trick. Humans are nothing. They are the youngest species in the galaxy. They have no history. They have no importance. The voice of the obelisk responded. It was calm, but firm. Like a teacher correcting a student. You know nothing of history. You know nothing of truth. The humans are not the youngest. They are the oldest. They are the first. A gasp went through the crowd. The aliens looked at each other with confusion and fear. What did this mean? How could humans be the oldest species? The light from the obelisk began to change. Images appeared in the air, floating like ghosts above the heads of everyone in the chamber. Yuna watched with wide eyes as the story of the universe unfolded before her. In the beginning, the voice said, there were the architects. They came from a place beyond this universe. They created the stars. They created the planets. They created life. The images showed tall beings made of light. They moved through space like gods, touching worlds and filling them with living things. They were beautiful, and terrible at the same time. The architects knew they could not stay forever. Their time in this universe was limited. So they created guardians, beings who would protect all life after they were gone. Beings who carried their genetic code, their blood, their purpose. The images changed. They showed a small blue planet spinning around a yellow star. Earth, Yuna's home. The guardians were placed on a protected world. They were given time to grow, time to learn, time to become strong. The architects called them their children. You call them humans. The chamber erupted in noise. Aliens shouted and screamed. Some called the obelisk a liar. Some fell to their knees and prayed. Some simply stared with empty eyes, unable to accept what they were hearing. Junho squeezed Yuna's hand. "Did you know about this?" he asked. Yuna shook her head. "No. I had no idea. I am just a translator. I am nobody special." "You are wrong," the voice said, as if it had hurt her. "Every human is special. Every human carries the mark of the architects. Every human is a guardian. But this one," the light around Yuna grew brighter, "this one is more. This one has the purest blood we have seen in 10,000 years. This one stood against injustice. This one protected the weak. This one has the heart of a true guardian." Yuna felt tears rolling down her face. She remembered the child she had saved from Commander Vexus. She remembered how scared she had been. She remembered how she had known that reporting Vexus would cause trouble for her. But she had done it anyway because it was right. "I just did what anyone would do," she said. "No," the voice replied. "Not anyone. Only a guardian, only a human." Torvan stepped forward. His face was red with anger. He could not accept this. He would not accept this. His entire belief system was crashing down around him. "Lies," he shouted. "This is all lies. Humans are weak and stupid. They fight wars among themselves. They destroy their own planet. They are not guardians of anything." The obelisk was silent for a moment. Then it spoke again, and its voice was sad. "Yes, the guardians have struggled. They were left alone for too long. They forgot their purpose. They forgot who they were, but their nature remains. Even in their darkest moments, they fight for each other. They sacrifice for strangers. They love deeply and fiercely. This is the mark of the architects. This is what makes them guardians." Yuna thought about Earth. She thought about all the terrible things humans had done throughout history. Wars, violence, cruelty. But she also thought about the good things. Doctors who worked for free to help the sick. Firefighters who ran into burning buildings to save strangers. Parents who gave everything for their children. Ordinary people who stood up against injustice even when it cost them everything. Maybe the obelisk was right. Maybe there was something special about humans after all. Torvan was shaking with rage. Even if this is true, this human still committed a crime. She desecrated the shrine. She did not. The obelisk's light shifted. A new image appeared in the air. It showed the sacred shrine on the night of the crime. But the figure walking through its halls was not Yuna. It was Commander Vexus. He was wearing a mask that made him look like a human woman. A mask that looked like Yuna's face. "The true criminal hides among you," the voice said. He destroyed the shrine to take revenge on the one who exposed his evil. He wore a mask of lies. He paid false witnesses. He is there, in this chamber, hiding in fear. Every eye in the room turned to search the crowd. And there, trying to sneak toward the exit, was Commander Vexus. His face was pale with terror. He had thought he was so clever. He had thought no one would ever know the truth. "Seize him!" someone shouted. The guards who had recovered from the obelisk's blast ran toward Vexus. He tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. They grabbed him and threw him to the ground. "It is not true," Vexus screamed. "The obelisk is lying. I am innocent." "The obelisk does not lie," the voice said. "The obelisk sees all." The obelisk remembers all. Torvan looked at Vexus, then at Yuna, then at the obelisk. His world was falling apart. Everything he believed was wrong. Everything he thought he knew was a lie. "What do we do now?" he asked. His voice was weak and broken. "What does this mean for us?" The obelisk answered. "It means the guardians have returned. It means the children of the architects walk among you again. It means everything changes." The light began to fade. The images disappeared. The voice grew softer. "Protect the humans. Learn from them. Walk with them. For when the darkness comes, they are the only ones who can stand against it." And with those final words, the obelisk went silent once more. But this time, the silence felt different. It felt like a promise. Yuna looked at Junho. He looked back at her. They were both crying and laughing at the same time. They were alive. They were free. And the universe would never be the same. The days that followed the awakening of the obelisk were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. News spread across every planet, every station, every ship. The obelisk had spoken. The architects had left a message. And humans were not what anyone thought they were. Yuna stood outside the chamber of judgment. The chains that had bound her wrists were gone. Her criminal record was erased. The Galactic Council had declared her innocent of all charges. Commander Vexus was now the one in chains, waiting for his own trial. This time, there would be no false witnesses. This time, the obelisk itself would serve as judge. "How do you feel?" Junho asked. He was standing beside her, looking at the stars through a large window. Yuna thought about the question. How did she feel? Relieved? Scared? Confused? All of those things, and more. "I feel like I woke up in someone else's life," she said. "Yesterday I was a translator waiting to die. Today they say, I am a guardian with the blood of the architects. I do not know how to be that person." Junho smiled. "You do not have to be anyone different. You are still you. You are still the woman who helped me when I was lost. You are still the woman who stood up for a child when no one else would." That is who the obelisk saw. That is who the architects wanted. Yuna nodded slowly. Maybe he was right. Maybe she did not have to change. Maybe being a guardian was not about having special powers or ancient blood. Maybe it was just about being good, being kind, being brave. The door behind them opened. A group of Valorian officials walked out. High Judge Torvan was with them. He looked different now. His proud shoulders were bent. His cold eyes showed uncertainty. The revelation had shattered his beliefs. He was still trying to put the pieces back together. He stopped in front of Yuna. For a long moment, he just looked at her. Then, slowly, he bowed his head. "I was wrong," he said. His voice was quiet and rough. "I treated you unfairly. I did not listen to the truth. I was ready to execute an innocent woman because of my own pride. I ask for your forgiveness." Yuna stared at him. This was the being who had sentenced her to death. This was the being who had looked at her like she was less than dirt. And now, he was asking for forgiveness. She could have said no. She could have made him suffer. She could have taken revenge. But that was not who she was. That was not what a guardian would do. "I forgive you," she said. Torvan looked up. His 4 eyes were wet with tears. "Thank you," he whispered. "I do not deserve it, but thank you." He walked away with the other officials. Yuna watched him go. She hoped he would become a better being. She hoped all of them would. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. Humans were no longer treated as the lowest species in the galaxy. They were no longer ignored, insulted, or pushed aside. Instead, they were watched with new eyes, curious eyes, respectful eyes, sometimes even fearful eyes. Yuna became famous. Everyone wanted to meet the woman who had awakened the obelisk. Everyone wanted to hear her story. Reporters came from across the galaxy to interview her. Politicians wanted her advice. Religious leaders wanted her blessing. She hated it. "I just want to go back to being a translator," she told Junho one night. They were sitting in her small room on the station, eating noodles from Earth. I do not want to be a symbol. I do not want to be special. Too late for that, Junho said with a grin. You are the most famous human in the galaxy. You might as well use it for something good. Yuna thought about his words. Use it for something good. Maybe that was not such a bad idea. If people were going to listen to her, maybe she could help them understand each other better. Maybe she could build bridges between species that had been enemies for centuries. Maybe she could make the galaxy a kinder place. She started speaking at conferences and councils. She told people about human history, the good and the bad. She told them about human struggles and human hopes. She told them that humans were not perfect, but they were always trying to be better. That was what made them human. Some aliens listened, some did not. Change was slow. Old hatreds did not disappear overnight, but slowly, little by little, things began to shift. Human traders were treated more fairly. Human scientists were invited to join research teams. Human children were no longer bullied in interspecies schools. It was not perfect. It was not easy, but it was progress. One day, Yuna received a message from Earth. Her government wanted her to come home. They wanted to honor her as a hero. They wanted to build statues of her and name buildings after her. She declined. My work is here, she said in her response. There are still beings who hate humans. There are still walls between our species. I need to keep working to tear those walls down. Junho read her message and smiled. You know, you really are a guardian. The obelisk was right about you. Yuna laughed. I am just stubborn. Is that the same thing? Probably, Junho said. That night, Yuna went back to the Chamber of Judgment. She wanted to see the obelisk again. She wanted to understand more about what it had said, what it meant, what she was supposed to do. The chamber was quiet and dark. The obelisk stood in the center, just as it had before. But now, it was silent. The glow had faded. It looked like just a pillar of stone. Yuna walked up to it and placed her hand on its surface. It was warm, like it was alive. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for saving me. Thank you for giving humans a chance. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, very softly, the obelisk began to glow again. Just a little. Just enough to let her know it was listening. And then she heard the voice, soft as a whisper in her mind. You did not need saving. You saved yourself. Your courage. Your kindness. Your refusal to give up. That is what woke me. That is the true power of the Guardians. Yuna felt tears in her eyes. I am scared. I do not know if I can do this. What if I fail? All Guardians are scared. All Guardians doubt themselves, but they keep going anyway. That is what makes them strong. The glow faded. The voice went silent. Yuna was alone again. But she did not feel alone anymore. She felt connected to something bigger than herself. Something ancient. Something important. She walked out of the chamber and looked up at the stars. They seemed different now. Not cold and distant, but warm and welcoming. Like they were waiting for her. Junho was waiting outside. He held out his hand. She took it. Ready to change the galaxy? He asked. Yuna smiled. No. But I am going to try anyway. They walked away together. Two humans in a universe that finally understood what they could be. Guardians. Protectors. Children of the architects. And somewhere in the darkness of the Chamber of Judgment, the obelisk watched them go. It did not speak. It did not glow. But if ancient stones could smile, this one was smiling. The humans were awake now. The Guardians had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same.